Well, we'll move on to our next team now in our preview, which is the Eisenhower Eagles. With a strong finish last season for them, they were able to make the postseason at 6-3 and beat Chippewa Valley in the opening round of districts. They look to keep things moving forward heading into a new season.
We're replacing the whole offensive line, so we got to see where we're at on the offensive line. But I like what we got coming back. We got a lot of team speed. It's probably the most team speed we've had probably since 2011. So a lot of guys back on defense. So we're looking for good things, but really we just got to get better every day, and it's not going to be easy to replace 5 good offensive linemen that we had last year. I mean, we had a really great ending of the season last year and beat some really good teams right at the end there in those last 5 games. So, yeah, you're hoping there's some carryover, and you're hoping that you're improving. So, we lost in the second round of the playoffs, and we're hoping to do better.
I see a lot of potential on our defensive side of the ball. I think we still have some work to do with the offensive line. I think we have some beast on the offensive line, but our D-line's really where it's at right now.
Who are some of the guys that you're looking on this year to play those big roles for you?
I think our quarterback, he's going to be a junior this year. He started every game last year, and he was with us as a freshman, Max Whitworth. And so, you're always looking for your quarterback, and it's always good to have your quarterback back. I mean, that's the biggest position. It's the hardest position to fill. So we got a guy with a lot of experience coming back, and that's huge. We're looking for big things out of him. The other guy is Jack Preventure. He's a 3-year starter, and he's going to be playing some tailback for us this year as well as on some defense. And we're looking for some good things out of him. But he's got a lot of experience, and and the other guys, Sammy Voltaggio and Noah Lumetta, are 2 defensive linemen that started every game last year for us and did really well towards the end of the season. And we're hoping those guys can really give us a push. It's tough every year. I mean, there's really what's happened in the last 5 years. Every team that's in the MAC, not just the MAC red, MAC white, MAC blue, all the way down, the coaching has gotten phenomenal. I mean, these guys at every level know what they're doing, and I think it has a lot to do with clinics, online stuff, being able to get to these colleges that open themselves up and coaches going down there. So the coaching in the MAC is phenomenal. And so the league has really gotten better, and every year it's tough. I mean, it doesn't matter who's on our schedule. It's a tough game. There's no cupcakes on anybody's schedule anymore. So we got to just prepare one game at a time and, try to compete in each of those games and try to get better. And wherever we end up, we end up.
We always have a tough schedule, usually every year, but like we did last year, we're going to take it a week at a time, and we're gonna try and hold ourselves more accountable after each loss. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, we're going to be more accountable and we're going to bounce back even better.
I think the leadership on this team has been outstanding. We haven't picked any captains. I'm not sure we're going to pick some captains because we got a lot of guys that are true leaders, and they're finding their own roles into the team. So, I always thought being a captain was a little bit overrated, and what you really need is really strong leaders, and I think we have strong leaders on this team, so I think that's going to be a big plus for us. Potential, you never know with the team. Look at Romeo last year. Nobody was expecting them to do anything. They went on to win the state championship. So, potential is great, but, I see a team that really likes to work right now, and great leaders and a lot of team speed. So, where we go from there, I have no idea, but it's going to be an exciting journey for us.
All right, Brad, Eisenhower, obviously coming off a year last season that they started really slow out of the gates, came on strong at the end of the year and got that postseason win to get to the district final, only to lose to Dakota. That really got some momentum going for them, and I'm sure they're going to try to carry some of that over this year.
Yeah, you mentioned it at the start of this segment, that they got hot at the right time, had to win those last 3 games of the regular season to qualify for the playoffs for the 16th straight time. That's important for Eisenhower. They got the job done, and they're hopefully carrying a little bit of that momentum into play this year. Yeah,
and you heard Coach Chris Smith, they built an offensive line this year, brand new, 5 new players. That can be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, because you got a lot of inexperience there, and against a lot of these top teams out of the red that have pretty solid defensive lines, that could cause fits for them this year.
Oh, absolutely. MAC red plays dictated at the lines, right? You have to have a solid offense and defensive line, and that'll be important for Eisenhower as they go forward this year in order to compete with some of those bigger boys in the MAC red.
Yeah, one thing to mention for Eisenhower, Coach Brad Morris, who used to be the offensive coordinator over at Dakota, now comes over to help at Eisenhower. I'm sure bringing a little bit of tidbits of what he knows of not only Dakota, but the teams that they play in the MAC Red. Obviously, that's going to maybe help them from the coaching aspect a little bit
Giving
as well.
away some of those secrets.
Maybe.
Well, Dakota's won 6 straight in that series, so something's got to change,
Yeah,
right?
maybe he'll be able to add a little bit and allow Eisenhower to maybe get an upset win in what would be an upset in that game. But let's take a look at their schedule. They open up with 3 road games, which will be incredibly tough. At Plymouth on the 26th of August. Then they have the Dakota game in week 2 on September 1st. At Roseville on the 9th. And then they have Chippewa Valley and Romeo at home, followed by 2 more road games, L'Anse Creuse North and Stevenson. And then the tail end of October, they got the 2 home games against Warren Mott, and then they finish up with Utica Ford. So, the way that their schedule lays out, unlike a lot of other teams where they go home and away and home and away, it's chunks. They got the 3 on the road to start things off, then they got 2 at home, then 2 on the road, and then they close out with 2 more at home. So pretty hard to keep some continuity going with a schedule like that, I would guess.
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned the 3 road games to start the season. A Plymouth team that's pretty good. Eisenhower took care of business last year, winning by 2 touchdowns against them. And don't forget, Eisenhower was the one team that was able to beat Romeo last year. The lone Bulldog loss was to Ike last year, so Romeo will look for a little bit of revenge there. We'll see if Eisenhower can make it 2 straight over Romeo this year.
Yeah, keep in mind that is a rivalry game for them. Those 2 teams love playing each other, and that's the variable that a lot of people don't recognize. Is it doesn't matter who the favorite is when you have a rivalry game like that. You can throw everything out the window, not to be cliche, but that's the case. Eisenhower, the same situation. They play a white team off in their last game of the year. Utica Ford is going to be one of those teams I think that's going to challenge for the white, so that's not going to be a cupcake game. And if they're sitting there at 5 wins, again, same situation for them, needing a 6th. That's going to be a tough one at the end of the year.
Yeah, Utica Ford made the playoffs last year. We saw them in action against Dakota in the first round of the playoffs, and they were able to hang around with the Cougars for a period of time in that ball game. That should be a tough one for Eisenhower to end the season, and hopefully for them, they don't have to win those 3 straight in order to get in again this year.
Yeah, and we're about to get into L'Anse Creuse North, but just to touch on it real quick, L'Anse Creuse North playing up in the red the last 2 seasons. Their lone win was against Eisenhower, but they nearly got a second win against Ike last year as well. So in their 2 years out of the red, their 2 wins could have been against Eisenhower. So that obviously, that's going to be a competitive game as well. So that no real easy games on their schedule. They're going to have to earn it if they're going to make the postseason once again.